From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to Beat the Champ. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Peck and Sue Novoitsky.
Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to Beat the Champ, Week 3 here at Manor Lanes II. We have had double the fun through our first 2 weeks. Let's see what's going to happen today. We know one thing that's going to happen. Chad Mee is going to try to keep his 5-match winning streak alive. What has made Chad so tough to beat here?
Well, he's the most experienced player that we've had since week 1, and it definitely shows, and he's got even less experience that he's bowling against today. So I would just like to be him staring down this field and know what he's thinking. Because
in Brandon Korczykowski, Josh Large, and Derrick Greene, we have guys that 2 of them are making their debut on the show. Brandon hasn't been on the show in a couple of years, so there really is going to be a big advantage for Chad Mee based on his knowledge of the lanes and his experience and his ability to manipulate the right equipment. Sue Jeziorski.
Thanks. A lot of guys are going to have a challenge with equipment, I think, especially the gentlemen who have not been on the show before, because they're going to be going against their nerves, seeing what's going on, and trying to make quick choices in that one game. Yeah,
so I'm surrounded by 2 Hall of Famers here. I'm someone who's going to have to buy a ticket to get into a Hall of Fame. We've got a Hall of Fame level show, though. It is time to get rolling. So here we go. It's week 3 here at Manor 2 Lanes, match number 1, and that's your challenger, Brandon Korczykowski. Try to end the winning streak of Chad Mee. 5th appearance on our show for Brandon. 1 win and 4 losses overall. Been a while since we've had him on, a couple of years at least.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Last time Brandon won was all the way back in February of 2016 at the Kearns Avenue Bowling Center, which I think was our 2nd show.
well, they're all in a bunch anyways.
Yeah, that's to say, exactly. It's just only got to go get it one direction. You know, and again, even for Brandon, who has been around and bowled very well for a long time here in Western New York, he's got to look at the way Chad is bowling and going, I need to be really good and really sharp.
Yeah, plus he hasn't been here in a while, so you got to get those beginning butterflies out of your way.
And that will be a first frame spare for Mr. Korczykowski. And now we turn it over to Chad Mee, making his 8th appearance here on Beat the Champ, up the record now to 10 wins and 3 losses. As you mentioned, working a streak of 5 wins in a row, going back to his victory over Chuck Jagosinski 2 weeks ago on our first show.
Right. Right, and he's made a lot of changes since then in his game and how he's reading the lanes, how he's attacking them. And he's even deeper now. He's as deep as he's been. He's all the way, his foot's all the way over to the left gutter where he's starting out. And still came up a little high for him.
Leaves the 4-pin at Beat the Champ TV. Hashtag Beat the Champ, your place to follow us on Twitter. Make sure you like us on the Facebook page. And that's a big mistake very early on for Chad as he misses the spare. Your reaction said it all.
I think he felt the same way. I don't know that he thought he missed that. I thought he had it all the way down. But this is when you change bowling balls, how you're not altogether sure how it's going to read the back of the lane, and that's what's happening. It's taken off on the back of the lane on him.
And that's the way to bounce back with a strike. I mentioned the Facebook page. We'll have all the updates for you on our upcoming shows. We will move in 2 weeks to Classic Lanes in Kenmore for a month-long stay, and then after that, it's up to Grand Island, and all the dates for qualifying at Malwitz's Island Lanes in Grand Island, and the taping date, and all that is available on the Facebook page. Back to Brandon for his 2nd frame.
It's a good break for him.
He'll have to deal with the 6-pin.
That could have been ugly. That looked like it had some
ran out of gas,
split potential.
34 years old is Brandon Korczykowski from East Amherst, New York. Been bowling for a long time of his life, since he was about 10 years old. Bowls regularly, a couple of bowling centers around Western New York during the week. Just getting ready to get in the league season. Spare in the 2nd frame for Brandon.
Well, he's fishing around a little bit, you know, and we know the left hasn't had a whole lot of play. We haven't seen anybody on the left-hand side of the lane since the first week, and it was Jason, and he didn't make him look that easy. So nobody's been breaking him down for him, so he's trying to find his own way out there. I know he tried a bunch of bone balls in practice and settled on this one. Now he's got to catch a break.
Yep. Hasn't caught any of those yet. Still kind of fishing around. You got to look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard. Capably manned this week by Hall of Fame bowler Sue Jeziorski. There's Sue with her excellent handwriting.
Her big letters, her big numbers we can read.
Filling in for Janelle Sabin. All this expertise from all of you guys.
Yeah,
it's been
we
great.
figure we get a little something different this week.
So 3 spares to open up with for Brandon Korczykowski. And after that open in the first frame for the 23-year-old from Hamburg, Chad Mee came back with a strike in frame 2. And a strike in frame 3. He's been incredibly consistent, has Chad, other than the 201 that won him his match last week against Jay Schwartzkopf. Almost every one of his scores anywhere been between 235 and 220, right in that range, averaging right around 230 during this 5-match winning streak, and the consistency is always the key here.
Well, he wasn't pushed either in that match, so sometimes he rise to the occasion, and he had a 50-pin lead pretty early on in the match. So if you don't get pushed, sometimes that'll reflect in the scoring.
That's a triple for Chad Mee, 3 in a row, already putting the early heat on Mr. Korczykowski, a Pilates instructor. That's Brandon's occupation. Is he goofing with us? He's goofing with us, isn't he? I just fell for that one, didn't I? I'm glad you're enjoying it. Who am I to question? Way to go, Brandon. See? See what happens when you're not truthful?
I was questioning the 34. I didn't see the Pilates instructor.
All right, you got me. Yeah, you got me. You okay over there?
I'm okay. Oh.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV. All right, 8th frame now for Brandon. First match of the day here at Manor Lanes II. It's our 3rd week of competition that has been dominated by Chad Mee. There's the first and nice strike from Brandon.
Almost looks like he took everything out to the gutter. He was a little bit inside of that. That was pretty much straight up the gutter, kind of where Jason was actually playing the first week.
Finally was able to use some of those core muscles that he practices so well as the Pilates instructor that he is. And another strike, 2 in a row for Brandon.
He needs it. You never know what's going to happen.
Our stay here at Manor Two Lanes started with a great opening match between Chuck Jagosinski and Jason Siliberto. That Chuck rolled a 278 for his 35th Beat the Champ victory. But then after that, could not come up with the win, and that's when Chad's win streak started, and who just said you never know what can happen. That's a little Greek church action there, isn't it? Close. Close. Not quite?
A Greek church with...
Oh, a Greek church with the reception area on the back of the church? What?
We have a name for this, but I can't say it on television.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Open frame in the ninth for Chad Mee.
Okay, so what this has created is, to tell you how important those 2 strikes were for Brandon, this has created a situation where in order to shut Brandon out, Chad has to double. Because Brandon still, even with that rough start, can shoot 201. So you're looking at a spare for Chad would only bring him to 196. So he needs to double to absolutely shut Brandon out.
All right, a match that we pretty much thought was already decided, now up for grabs.
There's one.
There is one.
Big shot right here.
So here's a big one for Chad, looking for that 6th win in a row.
He liked it.
Not quite the double that he wanted.
Wow.
So,
this has become an interesting match.
Yes, it really has. When, like we said, we pretty much thought this one was over after the struggles for Brandon in the first 5 frames. It's been Chad that's struggled the back 5.
Well, early in the first show, Chad said that the key was to keep it simple, and it becomes a little more complicated when you open up the lanes, and that's where you can open yourself up to formations, which is what we saw with the four count.
So you see the 196 posted on the Castellone scoreboard for Chad Mee. Will that be enough? Tenth frame for Brandon Korczykowski.
Needs a double and 5.
There's one.
There we go.
Wow.
Changing the match. Big strike here.
What an incredible turnaround here. All prompted by our goofiness maybe early on in the match here.
Well, at least it hasn't come back to cost us.
No.
He's got the match in his hands right now.
A strike here from Brandon Korczykowski means he only needs 5 pins on the fill ball in order to win. Wow, there's the double that he needed.
What a shot. All right, so what it is 5 to tie, 6 to win.
Amazing, an amazing turn of events
Wow.
here in this match. Chad Mee had 4 in a row early on. Looked like he was cruising towards another victory. And here we are, just 6 pins away from the win streak coming to an end.
Pretty much the only thing he couldn't leave was that 4 count.
Five to tie, 6 to win. And he'll get 7 and come up with
Wow.
the win. Unbelievable.
What a match. This is why you watch the whole game.
Amazing, a 198 to 196 come from way behind win for Brandon Korczykowski over Chad Mee to bring the win streak to an end. We'll catch our breath on this one and talk to Chad about what happened when Sue and I return. We're off to a terrific start here, week 3. Beat the champ at Manor Lanes II in Amherst. Well, Chad, unfortunately, you're on the wrong end of one of the more incredible and unlikely and unpredictable matches we've had on this show in a long time. You're cruising along on the front side, the 4 strikes in a row. What happened after that?
Yeah, I made a little mistake on the right lane. Got a little slow. Right lane was hooking, and was unfortunate to get 4. And yeah, kind of let it go there.
Overall, though, the 5-match winning streak was impressive. Give everybody a sense of how you felt like overall you bowled here at Manor 2.
Made some good shots, made right ball changes, made my spares, so I was happy with it. It was good.
Well, you'll be happy when Jim hands you a nice little check.
Not only did you make good moves, but you made some really good money also.
Thank you.
So congratulations. I know Brandon's dad was ready to walk out at about the 4th frame.
So was I, by the way.
Somebody bought him a drink, and he turned around, and look what happened.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, well, maybe you need to get your dad here, and someone needs to buy him a drink. Maybe that would be the
Exactly,
difference.
exactly.
So,
Yeah, next time.
Well, it was a heck of a run, and an impressive performance, and it was fun to watch Chad rattle off those 5 wins in a row. We don't get you on this show as much as we should. Maybe now that you're done with school and off and working, we can get you back a little more.
Yeah, I'll try and come out in the next couple months and compete, and I look forward to it.
All right. Well, the winner of this match by the 2 pins, Brandon Korczykowski, will try to start a win streak of his own. We'll have that when we come back on Beat the Champ. Second match of the day features a large and a tall. In this case, it's Josh Large taking on Brandon Korczykowski for match number 2. After the unlikely victory, come from behind victory for Brandon, let's see if he can use that to propel him on to a win streak. Meanwhile, it's the debut here on Beat the Champ for the 20-year-old from Tonawanda, Josh Large.
Nice shot.
And that's a nice way to get it started.
So Josh is using that purple hammer that we saw early in the month from Chad Mee, that urethane ball that, you know, really looked so good on the lanes and kept Chad being able to play to the right. And this young man is using the same ball, and it really, I watched him in practice, and that first shot right there, it's given him a nice ball reaction.
So he was sort of smart enough and probably picked up from qualifying that he needed to have that kind of ball. He didn't already have it in his collection, and then used practice and probably used a little bit of what Chad did to make sure it was going to be the right one.
Well, what's amazing to me is how everyone has, so many of these bowlers have urethane in their arsenal now. So that would not have ever been a ball that we would thought we needed in our equipment bag, but it seems like they all do now.
Yep. So Brandon Korczykowski did not have a strike till the 8th frame of the last match. He strikes on the 1st frame here. So maybe he used that early part of the match to sort of figure his way through. And
He did make a move, and he did move out, and after that he just didn't miss the pocket.
And he'll leave the 3-pin here for a 2nd frame spare opportunity. First win for Brandon since all the way back in February of 2016. That was literally our 2nd month of shows here on Beat the Champ. That's the last time Brandon had won up until our first match.
Well, now he's good till 2023.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure we're all going to be good till that far after this show.
We got his number now, though. Keep an eye on him.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Never mess too much with the guy who controls the microphone, right? I'm
right.
always going to have the last word. That's how I look at it.
Nice
Ring
shot.
around the 10-pin. That
Yeah.
looked like a great shot from Josh Large, and it just went spinning up and over.
He's got a nice release.
Yes, he does.
Also has a lot of revolutions and puts very little effort into it, which is nice. He's not putting his body in a lot of strain, and yet it all comes out of his hand at the bottom, and that's really all you can ask for.
Former junior college All-American is Josh Large, and MVP, regional MVP in the junior college ranks, and a number of New York State titles already to the credit of Josh Large. I feel like we've had Josh on the show in one of our exhibition 4th shows somewhere along the line, but this is his first time in the actual competition part of our show.
Well, he's quite young, 20 years old. I mean, he's definitely just getting into bowling, and I think we're going to start seeing some of these every year that goes by as they come out of college or high school or their junior ranks, whatever. We'll start seeing them pop onto the show and get a few new faces here, but still very strong, competitive bowlers.
Back-to-back spares for Josh Large. After a strike in the first frame, so strike in the first frame, spare in the second for Brandon. Here comes frame 3.
Great shot.
He does seem to have found a groove here, doesn't he?
Yeah, very different from how the first half of the last match went for him, where it just seemed like he didn't have much in the way of ball reaction.
There's your early look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard.
1 pin separating the two.
Fourth frame for Brandon. Just got it too much to the left. Leaves the picket fence on the right-hand side. Copyright, trademark. Royalty fee every time you use it.
I'll leave it for you.
All right, good. Is this a relatively easy spare to pick up? 3 in a row like that?
Well, it's a Brooklyn, you know, as if you're gonna adjust to try to go what would be a Brooklyn strike, and it can be chopped though. And this looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. So just like we said, it's flipped right back. And now Brandon has an opportunity to go up 10 with a strike posted up in the 6th.
A little bit of a wobble there, but not enough. Not enough to take the 2 pin down for Large.
Well, the worst thing can happen is when you start to think, all right, I missed in a little bit. I got to make sure I don't miss it. Because as soon as you say don't miss in and get those negative thoughts in your head, now you're going to go overcompensate the other way, which is what happened here. So now he's gone light. So he really needs to clear his head and just take a deep breath and go. Because once you start thinking, oh, you know, once you start seeing, okay, I don't have any room in and I don't have any room right, then all of a sudden it starts to play on you mentally.
Is that something that when you were bowling, as you still bowl competitively, you just don't let the negative thoughts get in there?
You don't. I mean, I really try to take every single shot as a new shot. And I almost, when I have a bad shot, I just want to get right back up again. And it's kind of like a do-over instead of like letting what happened the last frame bother me.
And again, pins flying everywhere based on the power that Brandon rolls that ball, but pins were flying so hard they flew right over the top of the 6.
And that's a big shot because he goes up, he can get an extra 10-pin lead on that if that carries, and now there's only 4 pins
separating the 2 of them. Could have been a double. That was a chance at a double. Well, we've seen those, particularly as the guys have at times struggled, that you pull off that double, it kind of changes the momentum of everything, doesn't it?
Right.
We've had a number of matches, including a bunch of Chad Mee's matches, decided when he was able to get a double. Spare in the 7th for Brandon. Coming up next week, it's going to be our regular 4th special edition of the show, a little in-house Manor Lanes II challenge, championship challenge coming for you next week. That should be fun. And then it's off to Kenmore for Classic Lanes and a month-long stay there into September, as we have hit the time of the year when everybody goes back to school, football season starts, and leagues start here around Western New York.
It's crazy. It felt like summer took a long time to get here,
It
and
did.
all of a sudden it's the last day of August.
Yep. Labor Day weekend is upon us, and everything changes.
Great shot.
Big answer back there in the 8th frame
Right,
for
now-
Joshua Large.
Now it's his opportunity to turn it back.
Yep, now he's got that chance at a double, but so does Brandon with working a strike in the 8th.
Yep, this is definitely, this week's been a lot closer in the matches.
And there you can see for yourself where we are at, heading down the stretch into the 9th frame. Yeah, kind of lost a little bit of the momentum of that one.
Not a bad shot, though. This one's going to go down on the wire.
Why not? Seems like we're on a little bit of a trend of that lately. Well, that is a
That was
big
spoken too
miss
soon.
by Josh. A crucial missed spare open 9th frame.
That is just a lack of concentration. That is just taking the spare for granted and not really thinking it through.
So now, huge chance to take control and win this match for Brandon. He's got a strike on the board from the 8th frame. And not the prettiest of strikes, but a double nonetheless for Brandon Korczykowski.
That went from a split to a strike in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, the 7 and the 10 sort of both tipped their way in very slowly. So big double right there for Brandon. Brandon is nothing but entertaining in these two matches, correct?
Yep, well, you can't blame me for this one.
Nope.
All he needs really here is he needs to keep it on the lane. He needs 5-6 pins here to seal this match. Thanks to that strike there in the 9th.
Big, perfect looking strike for Brandon Korczykowski, 3 in a row, and that will clinch a victory. That's 2 in a row now for Brandon Korczykowski. Again, all he needed was that huge sort of unlikely victory in the last match against Chad. Maybe that's what propels him off into a winning streak. It's up to 2 in a row. We'll check in with Josh Large, find out what he thought, and get you ready for our final match of the day. It's our 3rd week here at Manor 2 in Amherst, and we're back right after this. 217 to 182, a win for Brandon Korczykowski over Joshua Large. You started off pretty good. You had some strikes on the front side. A couple things happened on the back there. Take me through the match.
Well, I started off throwing the ball real good. Then I hit some friction out there and didn't make the move soon enough. And he had a spot and was throwing the ball real good.
Debut here on the show. I know there's always a little nerves involved, but overall, you glad to get at least the first one out of the way?
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, we're going to try to see you back here a little more than this?
Hopefully, yes.
All right, Jim?
Yeah, Josh is one of the young guys, and I'm sure we're going to see a lot of them, and that'll take a little bit of the sting out of it.
Yeah, well, good. Jim's good at taking the sting out of things here. So we got our final match of the day. Derrick Greene, another guy making his debut, going to try to knock off Brandon Korczykowski. That match is next. So here we go at match number 3. Derrick Greene will challenge Brandon Korczykowski. It's the debut for Derrick here on Beat the Champ. He is so excited. I think he came up to you when he qualified. He came up to me before the match, how excited he was, what an honor it was to be on the show, and that's great. The enthusiasm was just flying out of Derrick Greene. He is so excited to be here. Let's see how things go. And that's a good way to get a whole week's worth of anticipation right out of the way.
Well, Wednesday night he came up to me last Wednesday before there was still much more qualifying to go, and he was sitting right around 4th or 5th, and he came up to me and he said, he goes, I'm 4th or 5th. He goes, I think I have a chance if it holds up, and he was every day here watching the bowling and watching his scores, and it meant so much to him to make the show when he finally did. I'll tell you, the community of bowlers were very happy. People that he bowls tournaments with were so happy for him because they know how much it means.
That's awesome. That's great. It makes everybody here at WBBZ and every one of us involved in the show feel great that this is something that means so much to a bowler in Western New York who's been trying for a couple of years to get on the show, and kind of that, I finally did it, I got it, I made it. Now we want to see him continue to bowl well and win, but that's awesome. That's what something like this and what this sport can do for anyone who decides to be involved in it.
He practices and practices and practices. I mean, he puts his time in it. I mean, this is something that I think he's going to absorb every second of this and just really enjoy the moment. Because for him, this is the stepping stone to being a professional bowler, which seems to be what he really, really wants to do, and what he aspires to be, and to make it here that will give him confidence to go to the next step.
More details on Derrick when he comes back up, but right now Brandon spares the first frame, working on the second here, trying to keep this 2-match winning streak alive for him and advance on to Classic Lanes.
Great
and that's
shot.
A nice strike. Well, we got 2 big hard throwers here for this match, don't we?
We do, and big rev rate here for Derrick. This is the first time, other than seeing some practice shots during the week, this is the first time I've really seen him, ready in game form.
29 years old, from Buffalo, New York, is Derrick Greene, employed as a wheelchair agent at the Buffalo airport. Wow. There is some exploding pins going on with both of these guys.
That is rev rate. So I think that you can really see by his label and how the ball goes down the lane that that's exactly what you mean when we talk about rev rate. And he does not put his thumb in the ball, so he's really? Yeah, you'll see when he brings it back that his thumb's not in the ball. So he's generating that with his wrist. That's how they get that rev rate. The two-handers, or in this case, not using your thumb, gives you that cupping ability.
All right, watch for that here from the lefty Derrick Greene. Oh yeah, really get a look at it. All right, so now he threw it just as hard, but he missed his target, and he's got a picket line of pins to deal with here in frame number 3. 225 average for Derrick Greene. Bowls regularly a couple nights a week in leagues at Airport Lanes. And has started to pick up that bowling ball around 4 years of age. Great spare pickup.
Well, I give him credit. He's up here and he's really got his concentration level where it needs to be, because I didn't know if the excitement would be distracting for him.
It can be. We've seen that happen to a lot of bowlers that if I finally made it, and that kind of overwhelms them a little bit. That's a double for Brandon Korczykowski. I think he knows he's in the kind of a match where whoever might throw it harder is going to win this match. So it didn't take him very long to know that Derrick is up to that task.
Well, Those are a pair of really great shots too. I mean, you can see he's got a really nice follow through. If you watch his follow through, it goes straight up, and that keeps the ball on target. So part of the strengths of his game is definitely his swing and his follow through.
One did not quite have as much oomph on it for Brandon. He'll leave the 4-7 to work on here in frame 4.
No, he knew that was a bad shot.
Yeah, I think the look on his face tells you that he knows that as well, too. There's your early look at the Castellone Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram scoreboard, manned by Sue Jeziorski in for Janelle Sabin this week. Keep wanting to give you details and tell you a little bit more about Brandon, but I'm definitely afraid of reading anything off his bio sheet right now. So I'm going to leave that to you because I know you know a little more of the truth.
All right, well, one thing I know about Brandon is that he's not 34 and he's not a Pilates instructor.
Is he from East Amherst, or did he make that up too? So.
No, he's from East Amherst. We do know the color
Cleveland.
He's
from Cleveland,
of his bowling balls.
Fourth frame for Derrick Greene. Nice smooth motion and didn't get it quite where he wanted to. And a little bit of a sleeper pin situation there. Mentioned that Derrick has been bowling since the age of 4, got started at Thruway Lanes, then continued that into high school at Burgard High School, where he bowled there, and as you mentioned, really has aspirations to try to go pro and is doing what he needs to do with training and instructing to make that happen. That, unfortunately, is the tough part about those sleeper pins, right? You think it's easy, and it's easier to hit one and not hit them both, right?
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute.
Instant replay on Beat the Champ is brought to you by Transit Lanes and Keglers. Join us for bowling, food, and drinks.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
But what you can't really learn that you get in a game is when to use these balls and what their use is next to one another. So you have to know, if I'm going to start with this ball, this is going to be the next thing that I go to, because they kind of got to match. And
almost a game plan, like a strategy plan. If I need to do this, then this is why, and then this is how I react to it.
Right, like not to go back to Chad, but he knew once that urethane ball didn't work anymore, what he was going to have to go to. So you have to know that this is a wood surface. The fronts are going to go. I'm X amount of games have been bowled on it. So the natural reaction, the natural thing that's going to happen, you kind of can figure out, okay, now what am I going to do when I start to see that happen? And the ball that he picked up to throw has not given him, it wasn't the right choice for what was going to happen. I see he's got another ball out, now we'll see if that is something that works better for him.
Spare in the 7th for Brandon.
But definitely part of the strategy is to have a plan for what you can logically guess is going to happen. Then if you're in a situation like this, or a tournament situation where you move from pair to pair, you also have to take into consideration what's been bowled on ahead of you. So it's not only your physical game at the moment, it's a strategy to piece together, to have a plan before you go into it.
Well, once again, more evidence, as Sue and I talk an awful lot about this being a thinking man's game.
Definitely.
The ones that are the best at it think it the best.
But it all means nothing without execution. Right. So you practice so that your execution, so that you repeat, and then you can make logical choices if you're repeating.
All right, so it does that look like a ball change here for Derrick in the 8th frame?
Yeah, the ball he was using is still on the rack, so yeah.
It looked a little better, but again, it got a little bit too right of the target. and it leaves him with a 2-7 spare to pick up.
Yeah, well, now you're guessing. So,
And you're running out of time, too.
yeah, you really don't know what it's going to do until you throw it the first time, and then you'll move off of that, and you are running out of time. 27 pins down with 3 frames to go.
Good spare pickup.
But you know, we saw Brandon have, you know, be all over the place for more than half a game, 7.
And be down 50 pins.
Yeah. Yeah, he was down 43 pins and with 3 frames to go, and pulled it out.
Yeah, one of our more amazing, unlikely comebacks in that 198 to 196 win over Chad Mee in our first match of the day. And there's a strike from Derrick in the 9th frame. So that's kind of been the recap of this show. Chad Mee coming in on the 5-match winning streak, appeared to be in control of the first match of the day against Brandon. Had 4 strikes in the front side, and it kind of fell apart. Brandon got hot in the end, punched out with a bunch of strikes, and winds up winning by 2, and then he beats Joshua Large, and that's where we're at now with Brandon Korczykowski trying to win 3 in a row and sweep the week and advance to Classic Lanes in 2 weeks.
All right, so Brandon's going to finish up in this rotation up, and the best Derrick can do is 200. So he's looking to seal that, and that's exactly what he needed to do right there.
So a double 8-9 strike in the 9th for Brandon Korczykowski. Looks like it's going to be enough.
It's pretty close. He's going to have to get some decent count here, and I hate to rule anything out until it's mathematically on paper.
That lesson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've learned that lesson over 3+ years. We learned our lesson about half an hour ago. Do not count anything out or overly expect things to happen that look like they're going to happen.
That is enough.
It's enough. It's enough to give Brandon Korczykowski the victory here. So it's 3 in a row. And again, that unlikely win at the beginning of our show has propelled him and given him the momentum to come up with 2 more. So it's 3 in a row for Brandon and a trip to Kenmore in 2 weeks as he comes up with a win over Derrick Greene. We'll talk to both guys and get you ready for our fun show next week when we return to Manor Lanes in Amherst. This is Beat the Champ. 204 to 177, our final score. Brandon Korczykowski's 3rd win in a row. Derrick, you were so excited, so fired up to be on this show. I know the results didn't live up to what you were hoping for, but how did this thing go for you? How excited are you to at least have got up here and standing next to the great Jim Russo?
It was a pleasure definitely bowling in his center for the first time to make qualifying, and to have my friends and my family here. It's definitely a pleasure to be bowling and beat the champ at Manor II.
What did you learn about bowling in this kind of setting and against good competition like Brandon?
Just got to adjust to the lanes. I came cold, started off with a double, then 9 spare, then it just went downhill, so I have to bring lighter stuff. But it was definitely a pleasure bowling in Jim's house today.
All right, Jim.
My buddy.
Yeah, Jim's house.
Brandon will be back. He was so excited. They had to kick him out of a center yesterday because he was practicing too much. Then he couldn't sleep all night because he was so excited. But you did well. You did all right for the first time.
First time jitters got out the way. Now I'll be on for the next show now.
All that excited for just hanging out with Jim Russo. God love you there, Derrick.
Thank you, Jim.
Sue, make this a quick interview with Brandon. I know he's got to get back to his regular job as a rocket scientist.
First, I want to know, how do I sign up for your Pilates class?
You can find me online, Facebook or Instagram, whatever else they have going on now.
Did my burst of laughter when I pictured you as a Pilates instructor distract you from your bowling?
I guess I deserve that. I was screwed up.
All right, well, you got it back pretty well.
Happened to myself if that slipped through the cracks.
That'll teach me for not proofreading those sheets, I'll tell you that.
I try to liven it up a little.
Okay, well, you did a good job.
You did that all right.
You got back on track really, really well. You made a move there in that game, didn't you?
Yeah, I tricked myself. I wanted to play in because Chad was shooting 220, so after about the 5th frame, I'm moving back to the gutter, little less friction than qualifying, and I made some decent shots. Luckily, I rolled the 3-pin to beat Chad, and then just kind of stay clean.
That's right. And, you know, obviously you had really good ball reaction, and you really came through well here to get through this match, too.
Yeah, I'm comfortable here. I like it here. Jim, I like talking with him. He always cheers me up, so I'm comfortable. It makes a big difference when you're comfortable bowling at a center.
Well, now you're going to have to get comfortable over a classic. You know that, right?
Yeah, bring on Zarcone.
Oh, hey. All right.
Now he's calling people out. You got it. Paul.
Yeah, but be careful what you wish for. Whether
Ready to go with a month off.
Whether Western New York is ready for it or not, we're going to get more of Brandon Korczykowski in 2 weeks at Classic Lane. Sue and I will wrap up a fun-filled week here at Manor 2 when we return right after that. Are we all ready for another week of Brandon Korczykowski or not? I'm not quite. I might be a little bit under the weather for that show next week.
Well, don't read whatever you write, so we know that already. But it did lighten the load.
Yes, it did. It lightened our show, but we had a lot of fun, and he's a fun guy to be around, and he makes this sport fun, which is great, but he also bowled really well. All you got to do is bowl well enough to win, right? Doesn't matter what the scores are.
Yeah, and, you know, there was a surprise win kind of there against Chad, and after that, you know, kind of the pressure's off, the monkey's off your back. You know, it's like, I don't know that he really thought he was getting through that match, especially, you know, the way it was going. And then, you know, he could just, you know, loosen up your swing, and it becomes a lot easier, you know. So, I mean, we'll have to see this bowl next week, and if it's Mike, oh boy.
He's already called out Mike Zarcone. That could be trouble, right, Sue?
Absolutely going to be trouble.
Don't poke the bear, right? That's what
Never, ever.
Don't poke the Zarcone. So we'll find out. That's 2 weeks from now. Next week, we're going to have a little fun, a little in-house Manor 2 Lanes Championship Challenge from some of the house bowlers here at Jim Russo's place. So that'll be a lot of fun. Join us for that when we return next week on Beat the Champ.